after I found out my wife, Sabrina Grayson, big shot CEO, was putting her divorced best friend, Martin Crawford, and his kid ahead of her own family, I started teaching our son Leo to call her Miss Grayson. One night, Leo was running a fever and Martin called Sabrina. Away she went. I put my hand on Leo's hot forehead and told him to say goodbye to her. We promised to take Leo to his school's parent-teacher meeting. Together. Then Martin called, crying that his son Teddy didn't have a mom to show up for him. Sabrina left without a second thought. I didn't even look up. I handed Leo my phone and asked him to pretend to be Sabrina and make up some excuse in the parents' group chat for why she couldn't come. Leo hesitated forever like he always did. Then out of nowhere, Sabrina finally seemed to feel bad about it all and suggested the whole family take a photo together. Outside the studio, Martin called again, sobbing. Sabrina, can you pick Teddy up from school? The other kids are making fun of him for not having a mom. Pity crossed Sabrina's face. She started to crouch down and explain it to Leo, but he waved her off before I had to say a word. It's okay, Miss Grayson. Go be with that other kid you've got out there. It's just gonna be me and Dad in the Norris family photo. That's when Sabrina and I both froze. For the 28 days since I realized her heart wasn't with us anymore, every time she ditched Leo and me for Martin, I'd have Leo call her Miss Grayson. A reminder for both of us, not to waste our tears on someone who wasn't worth it. But Leo never saw it that way. He was only 7, the age when a kid needs his mom the most. Every time I asked, he'd hesitate a long time before whispering, Miss Grayson. Today he did it on his own. It came out smooth and easy, like he'd practiced it 1,000 times in his head. Seeing us both stuck there, Leo took my hand. Miss Grayson, go do your thing. Then he looked at me. Come on, Dad. We're gonna be late. He led me toward the studio, one step at a time. The photo had been Sabrina's idea, her way of making up for missing the parent-teacher meeting. Leo had been looking forward to it for 2 whole weeks. I followed him stiff, my chest so heavy it made me want to cry. I'd found out about her by accident. She went to Teddy's birthday and left the tickets in her coat when she came home. 3 Universal Studios tickets. For his 6th birthday, Leo had wished for the whole family to go to Universal to see his favorite characters, the Minions. Sabrina called it childish and said no on the spot. A few days later, she went anyway. With Teddy, I found Martin's Instagram post on her phone. The caption, visiting the most magical place on earth with the most amazing mom. Picture of Sabrina, Martin, and Teddy. Martin was her first love, divorced 1 kid. That night, we had the worst fight of our marriage. I said I wanted a divorce and custody of Leo. She called me crazy. How could I leave Leo without a mother? She swore all she felt for Martin was pity. I watched the color drain from Leo's face and nearly bit through my lip. Take him away and he'd never forget her. Stay. And this would just keep happening. I wasn't going to let him keep getting hurt over her so-called sympathy. So I found another way. Tricked her into signing the divorce papers, but quietly gave her 30 days. If she came to her senses, I'd let it all go. For Leo's sake. So that was the plan for those 30 days. Do everything I could to help Leo let go of his mom. Today was day 28, and he'd called her Miss Grayson all on his own. I felt his hand shake a little in mine. It felt like my heart was getting pricked by 1,000 needles. Crossing the street, Sabrina finally snapped out of it. She took a few steps after us, wanting to ask Leo what was wrong. But Martin called again, still crying. Sabrina, where are you? Teddy won't stop crying for his mom. I can't calm him down. She stopped, stared at our backs. Okay, got it. I'm on my way. She texted me that we talk it out tonight, turned around and left without looking back. Her engine roared and faded down the street. Leo threw himself into my arms, crying into my shirt. Dad, can we just stop wanting mom? The photo shoot was a bust, so I took him home and started packing. While I booked flights back to my hometown, Martin sent me a video shot at another well-known studio. He and Sabrina, in matching outfits, posing with a kid about 5 at the end. His usual dig, Martin. It's just a family photo. Sabrina and I can take one anytime. Before that would have gotten a sharp reply out of me. Now, watching Leo quietly put his toys away, all I could think was how pointless it'd be to answer. I closed the chat and booked 2 tickets to Sim City for the day after tomorrow. Right after I paid, Sabrina walked in carrying a strawberry cake. Leo and I both did a double take. She hated strawberry cake. Because of that, Leo always picked her favorite tiramisu for his birthday, even though he'd inherited my crazy love of strawberries. So why was she suddenly bringing one home? Leo and I traded a look. Neither of us could believe it. Her face shifted when she saw the open suitcase. Teddy was crying really hard, so I stayed a while. On the way back, I remembered you 2 love strawberry cake, so I grabbed one. Why are you packing? Going somewhere? I shook my head, then changed it to a nod. Something like that. 2 days left in the cooling off period. I didn't want anything to mess it up. For some reason, that relaxed her. Studio called, said you two never showed. I asked them to reschedule. How about tomorrow? I promise I won't stand you up this time. She crouched down in front of Leo. Dead serious. Leo stopped packing. He looked at her, then at me, torn. Or maybe he just couldn't bring himself to believe her anymore. I caught the change in him, and something in me went soft. Okay, it was the last time we'd believe her anyway. The second I said it, his face lit up, and he ran off to his room with his toys. Once he was gone, I kept packing. Sabrina came over, kind of hesitant. So, about Leo calling me Miss Grayson today. My heart jumped. I looked up. She bent down and set the cake beside me, her voice somewhere between helpless and tender. Joshua, I know what you're thinking. You think I'm too good to Martin and ignoring you and Leo. But I swear, all I feel for Martin is sympathy. He's raising a kid on his own. I just don't want it to be so hard for him. She took my hand and pressed it flat against her chest. Give me a little more time. I'll sort out the whole Martin and Teddy thing. I won't let you and Leo hurt like this anymore. Stared at her. I couldn't remember the last time she looked at me that seriously. Maybe it was our wedding. That little white church. Our fingers laced together while she swore to be good to me forever. Or the day Leo was born. When she held him so carefully in the delivery room. Tears running down her face. Honey, I'll never let you or Leo suffer. Not ever. Thinking about all that, I sat quiet for a long time. Then I finally decided to tell her about the divorce. Sabrina, actually. Oh, where do you put that rare Lego set you got Leo? In the study cabinet. Martin says Teddy's really into Legos lately. I'll bring it over for a few days. She dug the box out of the study, grabbed her keys, hurried out the door. It slammed behind her. Gone. I stared at the door a long time. Then I finished the sentence. I never got to. Actually, Leo and I don't want you anymore. 2 days left before we'd be gone. At midnight, I lay wiped out on the bed. Everything finally packed. My phone lit up. Sabrina. Teddy loves the Lego set. I stayed up all night building it with him. Martin wanted me to say thank you. My wife thanking me on behalf of another man. At midnight, I gave a tired little smile. Didn't even have it in me to be angry. The ending was going to be the same either way. I typed back. No need to thank me. I didn't give it to him. And that Lego set was Leo's favorite birthday present. He's been waiting for you to have time to build it with him. Then I turned off my phone and went to sleep. Whatever look was on her face, I didn't care to picture it. The next morning, Sabrina came home early, 8 o'clock. She was pulling off her coat. When she stopped short at the suitcases lined up in the living room. You need all that for one trip? She asked, a little rattled. Walking into the bedroom with her coat still on. I was helping Leo get dressed and didn't turn around. It's far. She looked straight at Leo and only relaxed after he nodded. Then she set her coat down and pulled out 3 Universal Studios tickets. You were upset I never took Leo to Universal, right? I got tickets for today. The 3 of us can go. She held them up, her face all warmth and pride. For a second I thought I'd misheard. Almost a month had gone by, and she remembered it now. Then I remembered the string of unread texts waiting when I woke up. And it clicked. This was her apology. I stayed quiet and kept dressing Leo. He was thrilled, blinking up at me. Dad, I want to go. I smiled. But before I could say anything, Sabrina cut in, hesitant. There's just one condition. Martin knows we're taking a family photo today, and he's worried Teddy will be upset if he finds out. So we'll do our photo another time. Guilt was written all over her face. Leo went still. The light in his eyes slowly went out. Oh, I see. He lowered his head and said nothing else. His eyes turned red. Sabrina didn't notice. It's the one little favor Martin asked for. I figured it's not a big deal. We just skipped the photos this once. There'll be a next time. Leo, what do you think? She had no idea we were leaving tomorrow, and this was her last shot. Neither of us said a thing. We just nodded, okay, sure. She let out a breath and smiled like a weight had come off. I'll go tell Martin. See you at Universal at 3. She got up to leave. At the door, she turned back. Honey, Leo, you two are so good to me. Neither of us answered. After she left, Leo jumped off the bed and pulled his already packed backpack from the closet. Dad, I don't want to see Miss Grayson anymore. Can we leave sooner? I moved our flight up to 3 p.m. Once I confirmed the passenger info, I started getting everything ready. At 9, I made breakfast in that house for the last time. The cake was still in the fridge. Leo took it out and dumped it in the trash. At 10, I picked up the signed divorce agreement from the lawyer. First line, I'd have custody of Leo. Around then I saw Martin's new post. Got the family photo. Mom and son both love it. Say they want to hang it where everyone can see. Leo was folding paper airplanes nearby. He saw it and said nothing. He just pushed me. Did. Hurry up and sign it. At 1, we finished lunch and took a cab to the airport. Still 2 hours before we were supposed to meet Sabrina. Leo held his tablet quietly scrolling old photos of the three of us. Shots from his 1-month celebration. Sabrina proudly showing him off. Him at 3, watching a Minions movie with her. Both throwing up peace signs. Video from this year before Martin came around. Sabrina walking behind him teaching him to ride a bike. He watched it over and over without crying. But the whole cab went heavy and still. I sat beside him and didn't say a word. At 2, we were about to head through security when Sabrina called. Joshua. Tell Leo the first M. So sorry. Teddy fell and got hurt. I have to take him to the hospital. I don't know if I'll make it by 3. If I don't, just head home. Please tell Leo the first M. Sorry. She hung up fast. Too fast. To catch the boarding announcement playing behind me. Let's go. I took Leo's hand. He nodded, selected every photo in the album, and deleted them all with one tap. At 3 the plane took off. I slipped the headphones onto Leo, looked out at the blue sky and clouds, and let out a slow breath. Goodbye, Sabrina. Meanwhile, Sabrina was tuning out Martin's crying, running out of the hospital, racing toward Universal Studios. The afternoon sun blazed over the entrance of Universal Studios, casting long, sharp shadows across the concrete plaza. Sabrina Grayson sprinted through the crowd, her high heels clicking loudly against the pavement. She had abandoned her luxury sedan at the drop-off zone, ignoring the valet's calls, her designer coat trailing behind her like a battle-worn flag. Her chest heaved, her heart pounding with a strange, suffocating panic she hadn't felt since her early days building Grayson Enterprises. She pulled out her phone and dialed Joshua's number again. The subscriber you are calling is currently unavailable or outside the coverage area. Please try again later. She swiped her thumb across the screen, her fingers trembling slightly, and dialed Leo's smartwatch. The device you are calling is turned off. Damn it, Sabrina muttered, wiping a bead of sweat from her temple. She looked at her watch. It was 3:20 p.m. She was only 20 minutes late. Just 20 minutes. Teddy had scraped his knee at the hospital playground, crying hysterically, and Martin had looked so helpless standing in the corridor with tears in his eyes that she simply couldn't walk away immediately. She had spent 15 minutes soothing the boy, buying him a stuffed bear from the hospital gift shop, before realizing the time, and rushing out. They're just mad, she told herself, taking a deep, shuddering breath as she scanned the bustling crowd near the Globe Monument. Joshua is playing mind games. Again. He took Leo inside to buy Minion hats to spite me. That's all this is. She walked up to the main ticket turnstiles, showing the security supervisor her VIP pass. Excuse me, did a tall man in a navy jacket with a 7-year-old boy pass through here around 3 o'clock? The boy has dark hair and was carrying a blue backpack. The guard looked at her VIP pass, then checked the entry logs on his tablet. Shook his head. No, ma'am. No one redeemed tickets under the name Norris or Grayson in the last hour. Sabrina stood frozen. The crowd buzzed around her. Families laughing, children riding on their fathers' shoulders, mothers holding balloons. For the first time in her life, Sabrina felt completely, terrifyingly out of place. She pulled up her text thread with Joshua. The last message she had sent was, at 2:10 p.m. Teddy fell and got hurt. I have to take him to the hospital. Please tell Leo I'm sorry. There was no reply. Not even a single read receipt indicator. She turned around and walked back toward her car, her heels feeling heavier with every step. He's at home, she whispered to herself in the quiet cabin of her car, gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles turned ghostly white. He's at home packing his ridiculous suitcases, waiting for me to go back and apologize. 30 minutes later, her car screeched to a halt in the driveway of their suburban villa. The house was dark. The curtains were drawn. Sabrina pushed the front door open, the sharp scent of cedar and lemon polish greeting her. Usually at this time of day, the living room would be filled with the sound of cartoon shows, the faint aroma of dinner being prepped in the kitchen, or the soft murmur of Joshua helping Leo with his second-grade math worksheets. Today there was only silence. Joshua. Sabrina called out, her voice echoing off the high ceilings. Leo. No answer. She threw her keys onto the entryway table and strode into the kitchen. The first thing that caught her eye was the stainless steel trash can near the island. The lid was slightly open. She walked over and stepped on the pedal. Inside lay the strawberry cake she had brought home the night before. It was dumped face down, the bright red frosting smashed against the black trash bag, untouched, uneaten, and discarded like toxic waste. Sabrina's throat tightened. Her eyes darted to the dining table. Sitting right in the center of the dark walnut wood was a thick, legal-sized manila folder. She stepped toward it as if approaching a sleeping predator. Her hand shook as she reached out and pulled the documents from the envelope. On the front cover, printed in crisp, bold font, were the words, Final Decree of Dissolution of Marriage. She flipped frantically to the last page. There was her signature, the one she had signed 30 days ago when Joshua presented her with what she thought was a routine asset restructuring document during one of her busy corporate meetings. He had quietly slipped the divorce petition into her paperwork stack, giving her a 30-day cooling-off period. Beside her signature was Joshua's neat, steady script, dated that very morning, at 10 a.m. Stamped right across the seal was the official crest of the family court, accompanied by an attached custody order. Sole legal and physical custody, awarded to Joshua Norris. Attached to the back was a single-line sheet of notebook paper written in Leo's rounded, childish handwriting. Sabrina's breath hitched as she read the 2 short sentences written in blue crayon. Goodbye, Miss Grayson. You don't have to pretend to be my mom anymore. The paper slipped from Sabrina's fingers, fluttering onto the floor. No, this isn't legal, she breathed, her voice rising in panic. He tricked me. This is fraud. She grabbed her phone and dialed her corporate chief legal counsel, David Vance. David, get the family law team on the line right now. Sabrina demanded, her tone laced with authority, though her hands were trembling uncontrollably. Joshua took Leo. He snuck a divorce agreement into my desk last month and had a judge sign off on full custody today. I want an emergency injunction. I want a border lock on his passport. Find out where he took my son. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Mrs. Grayson, please calm down, David said gently, his voice weighed down by an uncomfortable solemnity. Joshua's attorney, Mr. Sterling, came to our firm at 11 o'clock this morning to deliver the final court filings. Then challenge it. Sabrina yelled into the receiver. I am the CEO of Grayson Enterprises. I have endless resources. He can't just take my child. Mrs. Grayson, you don't understand, David sighed softly. Joshua didn't trick you in the eyes of the law. Over the past 30 days, Mr. Sterling compiled a comprehensive behavioral log. It includes timestamped security footage, call records, school attendance sheets, and hospital logs proving that you missed 7 consecutive medical appointments for Leo, abandoned him during a 103-degree fever, failed to show up for school functions, and publicly presented another child, Teddy Crawford, as your priority while leaving your biological son with third-party caretakers or his father. David paused, taking a slow breath before delivering the final blow. Furthermore, the judge conducted an in-chambers interview with Leo yesterday afternoon. The court mediator noted that Leo demonstrated zero emotional attachment to you, consistently referred to you as Miss Grayson, and explicitly requested to reside permanently with his father. Given the evidence of emotional neglect, no judge in this state will overturn this custody ruling. Sabrina felt as though all the oxygen had been sucked out of her lungs. She stumbled backward, her knees hitting the edge of the sofa as she sank onto the cushions. He planned this, she whispered, her voice cracking. For 30 days? Joshua gave you 30 days, Mrs. Grayson, David said quietly. If you had shown up for Leo even once without prioritizing Mr. Crawford, the cooling-off period would have allowed you to revoke the petition. You let the clock run out. Today at noon. Before Sabrina could respond, her phone beeped with an incoming call. The screen displayed Martin's name, accompanied by a picture of him smiling beside Teddy. Sabrina stared at the flashing caller ID. For 28 days, every time this name popped up on her screen, she had answered instantly, filled with a sense of protective duty, pity, and nostalgic fondness for her first love. Now looking at those 6 letters, Martin, she felt an icy wave of nausea rise in her chest. She disconnected David and swiped to answer Martin's call. Sabrina. Martin's tearful, frantic voice burst through the speaker. Where are you? Teddy's leg is still hurting so much, and the doctor says we might need to stay overnight for observation. I'm so overwhelmed. Can you bring us some dinner from that Italian place near your office? And Teddy wants you to read him a bedtime story. Sabrina sat in the silent, empty villa, listening to the man she had spent a month comforting. For the first time, she truly listened. She heard the calculated cadence in his whimpers, the subtle way he paused to make sure she was still listening, the background noise of Teddy playing loudly with a video game, showing no signs of pain whatsoever. Martin, Sabrina said. Her voice was flat, hollow, and colder than ice. Yes, sweetie, Martin replied, instantly shifting his tone to sound vulnerable. Are you on your way? Where is the rare Lego set? Sabrina asked quietly. Martin blinked on the other end. What? Oh, the Lego set you brought over last night. Teddy loved it. We built the whole castle together. Why, that set was a custom birthday edition, Sabrina whispered, her eyes staring blankly at the empty hallway where Leo used to build his tracks. It took Joshua 6 months on a waiting list to get it for Leo's 7th birthday. Leo hadn't even opened the box yet. Oh, Martin stumbled over his words, a nervous laugh escaping his lips. Well, I mean, Leo is older, right? He can always get another one. Teddy really needed a win yesterday, Sabrina. You know how hard it is for him without a mother. Shut up, Sabrina said. What? Shut your mouth, Martin, Sabrina said, her voice rising laced with a terrifying, venomous rage that made Martin freeze on the other end of the line. Don't you ever speak my son's name again. Sabrina, what's wrong with you? Why are you being so mean? I thought you cared about us. I threw away my family for you, Sabrina growled, tears finally spilling over her lashes, burning her cheeks like acid. I let my 7-year-old son look me in the eye and call me Miss Grayson, because I was busy playing mother to your child. I destroyed my husband's trust because I thought you were a helpless victim. Sabrina, calm down, it's not my fault Joshua is insecure. If you ever call this number again, Sabrina interrupted, her tone dropping into a deadly whisper, I will revoke the corporate sponsorship I gave your studio, I will pull the lease on your apartment, and I will make sure you never work in this city again. Do you understand me? She slammed the end call button before he could speak, throwing her phone across the room. It shattered against the marble fireplace, the screen going black. Sabrina pulled her knees up to her chest, alone in the dark house, and buried her face in her arms as a hollow, racking sob broke from her throat. 2,000 miles away, the afternoon air was warm, smelling of salt pine and fresh rain. SimCity was a coastal city far removed from the high-stakes, hyper-competitive metropolis where Grayson Enterprises reigned supreme. Here, life moved at a gentle human pace. Joshua stood on the balcony of a 2-story coastal bungalow, holding 2 steaming mugs of hot chocolate. In the front yard, Leo was running across the lush green lawn, chasing a golden retriever pup that my childhood friend, Sarah, had brought over to welcome us. Leo's laughter, bright, clear, and unburdened, echoed through the afternoon air. It was a sound I hadn't heard in nearly a year. He's adjusting faster than I expected, Sarah said, stepping onto the balcony. Beside me, her arms crossed over a cozy knit sweater. Sarah was a senior pediatrician at SimCity General, and my closest friend from high school. When I called her 2 weeks ago explaining that I was bringing Leo back home for good, she had immediately helped me secure the lease on this seaside house and enrolled Leo in the top primary school nearby. Kids are resilient when you stop poisoning their environment, I said softly, taking a sip of the chocolate. He spent 8 months trying to earn crumbs of affection from a woman who treated him like an inconvenience. The moment he let go, the weight vanished. Sarah looked at me gently, her eyes full of sympathy. And what about you, Josh? How are you holding up? I looked out at the ocean horizon, watching the waves roll rhythmically against the golden sand. Before I married Sabrina, I was a principal structural engineer at a top national firm. When Sabrina's father passed away 7 years ago, leaving her to navigate the treacherous waters of taking over Grayson Enterprises, I made the conscious decision to step back, manage the household, and give her a stable home so she could build her empire. I sacrificed my career, my social life, and my personal ambitions to be the anchor of our family. And in return, she treated my sacrifice as domestic weakness, assuming I would always be there, sitting on the bench, waiting for her to choose us. I feel lighter, I said, a genuine smile touching my lips. I accepted a position as senior architectural consultant with the SimCity Municipal Redesign project starting next Monday. Leo starts school on Wednesday. That's amazing, Josh, Sarah beamed, nudging my shoulder. You're finally living your life again. Just then, Leo came running up the wooden steps, his face flushed red, the golden retriever bounding happily behind him. Dad, look, Leo cheered, holding up a polished sea glass stone he had found near the garden path. It looks like a green star. I crouched down, taking the smooth glass from his palm and examining it under the sunlight. It really does, buddy. It's a lucky star. Leo looked up at me, his dark eyes clear, calm, and shining with pure trust. Dad, yeah, Leo? Can we put this on my desk in my new room? He asked softly. So I can see it when I do my homework. Of course we can, I smiled, ruffling his hair. He didn't mention the Universal Studios tickets. He didn't ask about the Minions. He didn't mention Miss Grayson. It was as if she were a ghost from a past life that had simply dissolved into the mist. 3 weeks passed in peace. Leo thrived in his new school. Within his first fortnight, he was voted art monitor of his 2nd grade class and made 3 new friends who came over to our house on weekends to build paper airplanes and race bikes along the beach path. I immersed myself in my new work. The SimCity Municipal Project was massive, involving the restoration of the city's historic waterfront district. My days were filled with blueprints, timber assessments, and collaborative meetings with passionate designers. My life was full, grounded, and peaceful. Until a rainy Thursday afternoon. I was standing near the entrance of Sim City Elementary School, holding a blue umbrella, waiting for the dismissal bell to ring. Parents stood in clusters, under their umbrellas, chatting pleasantly about the upcoming school fall festival. At 3:30 p.m., the school gates opened, and children flooded out in a wave of yellow raincoats and colorful backpacks. I spotted Leo immediately, walking alongside his classmate Tommy, chatting animatedly about a robot drawing he had made in art class. "Leo," I called out, waving my hand. Leo saw me and smiled brightly, running toward me under his small green umbrella. "Dad." Before he could reach me, a figure stepped out from behind a parked black SUV. Near the gate, the woman was wearing a sleek black trench coat, her hair tied back, but her eyes were red-rimmed and sunken. Despite her expensive clothes, she looked exhausted, frail, and utterly desperate. It was Sabrina. She had spent 3 weeks using private investigators, corporate aviation, tracking, and public records to pinpoint my location in Sim City. When she saw Leo running across the pavement, a choked gasp escaped her throat. "Leo!" Sabrina cried out, dropping her umbrella and dropping to her knees right there on the wet pavement, holding out her arms. "Leo, Mommy's here." The surrounding parents stopped, turning their heads in confusion. Leo stopped dead in his tracks. He looked at the woman kneeling in the rain, her designer coat dragging through the muddy puddles, her face pale and streaked with tears. For a brief second, I braced myself. I wondered if the sight of his mother, broken and weeping, would reignite the old ache in his 7-year-old heart. I held my breath, ready to protect him from whatever emotional fallout was about to happen. Leo didn't cry. He didn't run to her. He didn't throw a tantrum. He slowly walked over to my side, grabbing my hand and stepping behind my leg, using my body as a shield. He peered out from behind my trench coat, looking at Sabrina with a cool, polite detachment that was far more devastating than anger. "Hello, Miss Grayson," Leo said, his voice small but completely steady. "Why are you here? Is Teddy sick again?" Sabrina felt as if a physical blade had been thrust into her heart and twisted. "Leo, baby, no," Sabrina sobbed, reaching out her trembling hand, though she didn't dare cross the boundary to touch him. "Don't call me that, please. Sweetie, call me Mommy. Mommy made a terrible mistake. I missed you so much. I brought your favorite Minion plushie from home. Look." She frantically dug into her leather handbag, pulling out a brand new massive Minion toy that still had the store tags attached. Leo looked at the toy, then looked up at me, his eyes filled with a strange, mature sadness. "Miss Grayson," Leo said softly, his tone echoing the exact polite patience and adult uses with an unruly stranger. "I don't like Minions anymore. I like paper airplanes now. And Dad bought me a dog." Sabrina's hand froze midair, holding the plushie. "Leo, please. You should go back to Sim City," Leo added gently, his small hand tightening around mine. "Teddy needs a mom to pick him up from school. My dad picks me up now." He looked up at me. "Dad, my feet are getting wet. Can we go home and feed Barnaby?" I looked down at my son, an immense wave of pride swelling in my chest. I looked back at Sabrina, who remained kneeling on the wet asphalt, looking up at us like a condemned prisoner receiving her final sentence. "Sabrina," I said, my voice completely devoid of hatred, malice, or warmth. "The court order is clear. You have no visitation rights without prior legal application and supervised mediation. Please leave before I call campus security." "Joshua, please," Sabrina wept, grabbing the hem of my trousers, her fingers soaked in rainwater. "Just 5 minutes. Just let me talk to you. I ruined everything, Joshua. I kicked Martin out. I canceled his lease, I sued his business. I cut off every single person who stood between us. I know I was wrong. Please, just let me come home." I looked down at her hand on my hem, then gently, firmly stepped back, pulling my fabric from her grip. "You didn't ruin us because of Martin, Sabrina," I told her, my voice carrying over the sound of the falling rain. "Martin was just a mirror. He showed me and Leo how little we mattered to you the moment something shiny from your past showed up. You didn't lose your family because you were deceived. You lost your family because you chose to throw us away, day after day for 28 days. I picked up Leo in my arms, holding my umbrella over his head to keep him dry. "There is no home to come back to," I said quietly. "We built a new one. And you are not in it." I turned my back on her, holding Leo close to my chest, and walked toward our car without looking back. Behind us, Sabrina laid her forehead against the wet, cold pavement, sobbing hysterically as the rain washed over her, surrounded by the pitiless stares of strangers. Sabrina did not return to the metropolis immediately. She checked into a luxury hotel in downtown Sim City, determined to stay until she found a way to undo the damage. However, her corporate reality quickly caught up with her. 2 days after her encounter at the school, David Vance flew into SimCity on the Grayson Enterprises private jet, arriving at her hotel suite with an urgent corporate dossier. Mrs. Grayson, you need to sign these board authorizations immediately, David said, setting a stack of urgent documents on her desk. While you were away, Martin Crawford filed a retaliatory lawsuit against Grayson Enterprises, claiming unlawful termination of his studio contract and emotional distress. Sabrina sat by the window, staring blankly out at the gray rain, a glass of untouched whiskey in her hand. Her face was gaunt, her eyes hollow. Let him sue, she murmured coldly. Tell the legal department to crush him. We already audited his studio accounts, Mrs. Grayson, David said, his expression darkening. And what we found, you need to see this. David opened the dossier, laying out a series of financial ledgers, private investigator reports, and recorded phone transcripts. Martin Crawford was never a struggling single dad, David revealed flatly. Over the past 18 months, he systematically funneled over $1.2 million from the Grayson Charitable Foundation into shell accounts registered under his sister's name. Furthermore, the narrative that his ex-wife abandoned him and Teddy was entirely fabricated. Sabrina turned her head slowly, her brow furrowing. What? His ex-wife, Elena, filed for divorce 3 years ago because Martin was an abusive, gambling-addicted deadbeat, David explained, pulling out a court document from another state. Elena has been fighting for full custody of Teddy for 2 years. Martin deliberately used Teddy to target you, knowing your history as his college ex, specifically exploiting your desire to play savior. David slid a printed transcript across the desk. This is an audio recording from Martin's phone, intercepted during our corporate audit. It's a conversation between Martin and his sister from 2 months ago. Sabrina picked up the paper, her eyes scanning the transcript. Sister, are you sure the CEO woman is going to keep paying your rent? Her husband looks like he's getting suspicious. Martin laughs. Sabrina is an idiot. All I have to do is make Teddy cry or pretend he has a fever, and she comes running like a trained dog. She's obsessed with proving she's better than my ex-wife. As long as I keep playing the poor single dad card, she'll buy us cars, fund my studio, and give me whatever I want. Her husband is a pushover. He won't do anything. The paper trembled in Sabrina's hand. A terrible, suffocating laughter erupted from her chest. A laugh of sheer, utter self-mockery. She had traded a husband who loved her unconditionally, a man who gave up his career to support her, and a brilliant, beautiful son who built Lego castles for her, for a parasite who viewed her as a pathetic, easily manipulated cash cow. Mrs. Grayson? David asked cautiously. Should we release these recordings to the press and proceed with criminal fraud charges against Mr. Crawford? Do it, Sabrina whispered, her voice dead and lifeless. Send him to prison. Make sure he loses custody of Teddy to his ex-wife. Strip him of every cent he ever stole from me. Understood. David nodded, gathering his papers. He hesitated at the door, looking back at his boss. And regarding Mr. Norris and Leo? Sabrina looked out the window, watching a distant ship navigating the calm waters of the SimCity Bay. He was right, she whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. Love isn't something you can pause and resume whenever it's convenient. I destroyed my own paradise. 6 months later, spring had arrived in SimCity. The cherry blossoms along the seaside promenade were in full bloom, dropping pink petals onto the wooden boardwalk. The SimCity waterfront restoration project had officially opened its first phase, a sprawling, state-of-the-art public park, maritime museum, and community center designed specifically for families. I stood near the main ribbon-cutting stage, wearing a sharp gray suit, receiving handshakes and congratulations from the mayor, city council members, and fellow engineers. My name was etched on the bronze plaque near the entrance as lead architectural consultant. Great job, Mr. Norris, the mayor beamed, clapping my shoulder. This park is going to bring joy to thousands of children for generations. Thank you, Mayor. I smiled warmly. It was an honor to build it. After the official ceremony concluded, I walked away from the media crowd, stepping down onto the green grass of the park's main meadow. A short distance away, Leo was flying a massive, brightly colored kite in the blue sky. Sarah was standing beside him, cheering as the kite caught a strong sea breeze and soared high above the clouds. Dad, look how high it's going, Leo yelled, his face bright with pure, unadulterated happiness. I walked over, pulling him into a warm side hug, watching the kite dance against the sun. That's the highest kite in the whole city, buddy. Far near the perimeter fence of the park, parked under the shade of a willow tree, sat a black sedan. Inside the car, Sabrina sat quietly in the back seat. She wore a simple dark dress, her hair cut short, her face thin and pale. Over The past 6 months, she had legally crushed Martin, sent him to prison for corporate fraud, and restructured Grayson Enterprises to donate millions to child welfare foundations. She had tried to fix her life, tried to atone for her sins, tried to rebuild her soul. And every month, she flew quietly to Sim City, sitting in a rented car outside the park or the school, watching her son and ex-husband from a distance. She never approached them. She never called. She never interrupted their peace. Again. She watched as Sarah handed Leo a glass of lemonade, watching Joshua laugh and wrap his arm around his son's shoulders as they reeled in the kite together. He saw the warm, easy chemistry between them, a complete, loving, unbroken family unit that no longer had an empty space for her. She reached into her coat pocket, pulling out a small, worn photograph, the only photo she had left of the three of them from 3 years ago, before Martin re-entered her life. She looked at the photo, then looked through the window at the radiant reality playing out on the grass. Slowly, carefully, Sabrina placed the photograph into a small wooden box, closed the lid, and set it on the seat beside her. "Drive," she whispered to her chauffeur, her voice quiet, serene and filled with a final, painful acceptance. "Take me to the airport." The black car rolled away smoothly, disappearing into the coastal traffic, leaving no trace behind. On the meadow, the wind blew softly, carrying the scent of salt water and blooming cherry blossoms. Leo handed me the kite string, his dark eyes sparkling under the bright afternoon sun. "Dad." "Yeah, Leo?" "I love our life here," he said softly, leaning his head against my waist. I wrapped my hand firmly around his small shoulder, looking out at the endless horizon where the blue sea met the golden sun. "I love it too, Leo," I answered, my heart full, steady, and entirely whole. "I love it too."